And the thought that I had, which is, this investment manager sitting on his floaty at his house in the Hamptons is having the best year of his life, and I'm having the worst year of my life. He's not working at all. He's literally not working at all. He's watching television getting rich. And then I have this $500 million asset, and the interest rates go to zero. And Jerome Powell goes on television and he gives a speech, and these are his words. We've taken interest rates to zero. I'm not even thinking about raising interest rates to the year 2024. But my observation was, I had an asset, it's now non-performing. My chances of turning this around are zero, because after doing 100 things for a decade, they're zero. My human capital is about to be stripped away. And so I have a choice between a fast death or a slow death. And so it was time to make a decision to choose a side. Well, I can keep the money at 0% interest, but I'm boiling. It's a slow death, not a fast death, but it's a slow, certain death, or I can fight. How do you make money? Well, let's talk about individual Bitcoin strategy. What should you do? Make Bitcoin your primary treasury asset. Convert your excess earnings to Bitcoin. Utilize subsidized credit. If the government will loan you money, borrow the money at cheap rates and buy Bitcoin, and find a tax-efficient way to invest the Bitcoin. What shouldn't you do? Don't quit your day job. Don't lose your focus on Bitcoin. Don't use margin loans and trade with leverage. You get wiped out while you're asleep on a Saturday night. That's not good. Good? 30-year loan for 3% backed by the government on your land. Bad? Overnight 10x leverage. The role of the layer one is two things. One thing is, I want to move a large sum of money through space with security. I can move any amount of Bitcoin in a matter of minutes for dollars on layer one. The second important feature of the layer one is I need the money to last forever, right? I need the money indestructible, immortal. So the bigger trick is not to move $1 billion from here to Tokyo. The big trick is to move $1 billion from here to the year 2140. Perfected capital, programmable capital, incorruptible capital. The significance of that is every smart person, every thoughtful individual everywhere in the world is going to want perfected capital. Every one of your enemies is going to want incorruptible capital. And all of the AIs are going to want programmable capital. The demand for this is huge. What's it worth? It's worth half of everything. Half of everything. The AIs are going to want the Bitcoin. If they have a choice between owning the Bitcoin and owning the ranch in Texas, or owning the bar of gold, or owning the Argentine peso, it's pretty obvious what they're going to want, and you can see here why they're going to want it. But 2025 is the year where every one of you became not a super genius. Every one of you is collectively 100 super geniuses that have read everything the human race has published. If you have the humility to ask for help from the AI, don't put your ego first, put your interest first. Your family will thank you in years to come. I am struggling with the time-honored question, what is money? I need a liquid, fungible asset which will store my economic energy for an indefinite period of time. And so what is money? I'm looking for money. And eventually I get to gold. And I'm thinking, should I buy $500 million of gold? And I'm staring over my pool, and I look at Eric and I say, Eric, tell me about that Bitcoin thing again. I had dismissed him 2 years earlier in 2018. I was like, oh, that's probably just a scam coin. That's going to collapse. And he started describing it. And I started thinking, how can I get more information on that? I started studying up on crypto. And I came to the opinion that the solution was was a non-sovereign store value bearer instrument. I looked at gold. I said, I need something like gold. And I thought, it's not perfect. It's the best idea in the 19th century. And it's not quite working in the 20th century. And so I started thinking, what if someone designed digital gold, right? And so paradigm shift, war. It wasn't the war on COVID, it was the war on currency, but risk is destroying trillions of dollars of that capital every single year. And investors are turning to digital capital in the form of Bitcoin in order to avoid that risk. Digital capital is economically and technically superior to physical capital, and it represents a revolutionary advance in capital preservation. The asset class itself is growing from trillions to hundreds of trillions of dollars, and it is backed by digital power, along with political and economic power. Public support for Bitcoin is surging, as is political support for the US Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, as is Wall Street support. And the President of the United States says,
never sell your Bitcoin.
That's why we're entering year one of the crypto renaissance.
When does it drop again?
Winter's not coming back. We're past that. We're past that phase. If Bitcoin's not going to zero, it's going to $1 million. And you have all the evidence you need to determine that, right? The President of the United States has determined he supports Bitcoin. The cabinet supports Bitcoin. Scott Bessent supports Bitcoin. Paul Atkins has shown himself to be an enthusiastic believer of Bitcoin and digital assets. Ken Tez at CFTC feels the same way. The banks are going to custody Bitcoin. Bitcoin has gotten through its riskiest period. The accounting has been corrected. There's now only 450 Bitcoin a day available for sale by natural sellers. That's the miners. At this level, that works out to about $50 million of Bitcoin available for sale every day. If that $50 million is bought, then the price has got to move up to find any seller that's price sensitive. Now, if you do the math, you'll actually see the Bitcoin treasury companies by themselves are buying the entire natural supply.
Yeah. BlackRock
and the ETFs are buying another measure of that. And we've got nation state actors coming into the space. So I think when Bitcoin rallies, if it surges to 500,000 or $1 million, then maybe we could talk about it crashing down by $200,000 a coin. But at the current price levels, it only takes $50 million to turn the entire drive shaft of the crypto economy one turn. And you've got the Trump media organization announcing $2.5 billion. You've got GameStop announcing $500 million. You've got my company that's raising billions and billions of dollars. So the writing is on the wall. Bitcoin's moving higher.
At what numbers and levels does it become complicated at which you start to have to sell things?
You know, we constructed a pretty bulletproof balance sheet. I would say we have a PhD in leverage by now because we lived through the last crypto winter. We went from 6,000 to 16,000. We were buying Bitcoin at 16,000. We used to use senior debt, and we had some margin type loans. We rolled out of that to converts, and this year we really have started to reallocate to preferreds. And preferreds are the best kind of leverage because they never come due. So I think we're fine right now because substantially our leverage comes from preferred stocks rather than from debt at all. Yeah.
You know, what a leveraged bet this is, but you're suggesting that because it's preferred, it never comes due. How can it be that they never come due?
You know, if you were using margin debt, you'd never want to go beyond 10% leverage. If you were using bonds, maybe 20, 25% is about the most you would want to do. But if you're selling a perpetual instrument, I borrow $1 billion forever, and I agree to pay you, say, 10% dividend yield forever. The principal's never coming due. The point here is every one of you knows someone. Go tell a CEO, go tell your father, go tell your mother, go tell somebody that Bitcoin's going to change the world and they should figure out more about it, because the number one thing you can do is educate the world on Bitcoin and let people know they need to figure out Bitcoin. And every one of you does make a difference, because I would never get those meetings if it wasn't like someone that went and said, you got to pay attention. And my last point to you, You do not sell your Bitcoin.